Dobrodošli u Muzej grada Beograda. Sa nama su neki od umetnika i kustosi ovogodišnjeg salona, to su Nikolausa Šafhauzena i Vanese Džoan Miler. Oni oboje rade u Kunsthalle u Beču, inače dolaze iz Nemačke. Odbor je odlučio da ih pozove zbog toga što je, prvo zato što su oni u ovom trenutku vrlo značajna kustoska imena, kao što je Kunsthalle jedna od najznačajnijih institucija savremene umetnosti u ovom trenutku, ali takođe i zbog toga što je ova godina obeležavanja 100-godišnjice Prvog svetskog rata i mi smo želeli da i na polju savremene umetnosti zapravo otvorimo to pitanje tih komunikacija. Vidjet ćete da njihova izložba naravno nije direktna referenca, niti su oni dobili bilo kakav zadatak u tom smislu. Mi smo samo smatrali da treba da razgovaramo, da tako kažem. Kao što znate, specifičnosti ovogodišnjeg oktobarskog salona su to što smo imali otvoren poziv za umetnike, javilo se više od 260 umetnika sa različitim projektima, izabrano je 15 njih i još neki umetnici iz regiona, onda sve na to dodali su neke strane umetnike i mi imamo jednu izložbu koja ima 32, ako se ne varam, 32 umetnika iz umetničkih grupa i ovo je jedna od retkih izložbi prema posle branki na salonu u svakom slučaju kada više ima domaćih umetnika na strani. Kao što vidite, opet radimo u zgradi Muzeja grada Beograda, ovog puta je ona mnogo otvorenija, mnogo se bolje vide se i radovi koje grad napravio, ne prokišnjava više, sredili smo i struju i nadam se da će se ovaj prostor koristiti u buduće za slične događaje.
We would like to thank not only Mia Davids, but the entire team. It was a it will be also in the next 5-6 weeks, a very exciting process for us. And to work on this exhibition, and this is not just blah blah. We really we learned a lot, and so Vanese Džoan Miler and me, when we got invited to frame this exhibition, also the OCTOBER SALON, we thought, okay, what could be the most important to do today for, or what makes sense to do for a local context, but also in an international perspective. We were thinking how do we deal nowadays with memory? What we didn't know in the beginning, that this exhibition is shaped by an open call. In the beginning we thought, okay, we are just inviting, or we have an in-depth look into the local art scene or the regional art scene. And then we were very positively surprised that you came up with this wonderful idea of an open call, which was new to us. I have never done an open call before. You?
No.
No. It's very interesting for us. And this, in a way, the whole concept evolved through this open call.
So the point of departure for us was speaking about disappearing thing, the status of the image in a digital era. But then after looking at all the portfolios and projects that were sent in during the open call, we shifted the concept a bit to like a more historical perspective, because we were really very positively surprised about the many ideas on a specific locale history and how many artists deal with archival material, how they re-edit films from the past. So in a way, we reshaped our concept a bit, which you can also see when you follow the choreography of the exhibition. We start with works that literally deal with the internet culture, with Snapchat and other applications, and then through the course of the exhibition you will encounter more works that deal, for instance, with the modernist architecture in Belgrade, or with personal recollection of Serbian artists, and we end with one work that deals with the First World War. So in a way it is also not directly in chronological order, but you will see also that over the past decades our entire idea of history has changed, how we preserve history, that it's not only written documents or photographs, but that it becomes more and more like digital films or things we store in our photo cameras or upload to social media. So here in the very first room you see some sculptures and works by Simon Denny. It's an artist from New Zealand who is very much into this really like digital native gadget culture, dealing with internet applications, etc. And we combine this here with a work by the German artist Susanne Kriemann. It's a series of slides which she took from the perspective of a helicopter flying exactly the routes that the planes right after the end of Second World War took from Western Germany to Berlin. That was the starting point of the Cold War, and it was a kind of like surveillance flights where people took like images from this like forest. And now, of course, we are familiar with the NSA surveillance scandal. It's quite similar. It's like a huge amount of images, literally not showing anything but what is evident, but it's of course like a document of this idea that via the perspective of a photograph, a film, you have the perfect view and you can see everything what the animal or whoever is doing. We have the same photos. This is like a slide projection in another space, so it's one of the works that reminds us over the course of the exhibition.
My name is Susanne Kriemann. I'm an artist based in Berlin, and I show here the work 277,569. The number refers to the flights that were made during the Berlin airlift between Western Berlin and Western Germany. It was the Russian blockade, which also started the period of the Cold War. I've heard about an archive of about 6 million negatives that were shot during the time of the Cold War to surveil the GDR territory from Western Berlin to Western Germany on all American flights. And I was in Washington to find the archive, but I couldn't find it, so we decided that perhaps it's also a myth of this archive, that it doesn't really exist, but it was more something to say that there is surveillance going on. And so now in 2012 I just decided I'm going to take the same road. I'm going to depart from Western Berlin to Western Germany over the territory of the GDR with a helicopter, and I shoot a number of photographs in reference to that flight that has been executed once and again and again. And I choose the territory of a forest not only because I believe that on all the 3 airlift channels there was nothing to be seen in terms of power plants being destructed or military sites, because GDR was well aware of their surveillance going on. But at the same time I also thought that the forest itself from the air is something that relates really to the possibility or the impossibility to show something with a photograph, because it has so many details that, and the film has a certain number of possibility of a detail, that if you go to shoot a forest from air, the details become so multiplied that in the end you cannot see anything anymore. At the same time, I also believe that we participate more than ever in the surveillance possibility with our smartphones and being online all the time. So for me personally, I'm kind of course interested in this because it has to do with the medium of photography and also our current condition as artists and people in the world, how to be looked at all the time through the satellite eye. And yeah, I'm kind of following up this. I'm very happy to work with Vanessa and Nikolaus. I've worked with them before. I find that the subject is really relevant, even though it has been exploited with contemporary art a lot already, the archival turn and working with archives as artists. At the same time, I really truly believe that it's really important to look into the past and to be aware of what's going on today, to know what has been done before and how things are put together.
This is just like an example of what I said before. Dušika Dračic's work, A New City, is a compilation of modernist buildings, and all of them have been demolished for different reasons, because in a way they incorporate an idea of like an architectural utopia that failed. So when people decided that this is like a failed building, they demolished it, which is of course like not a very sustainable idea of architecture. And Dušika Dračić assembled, collected all these no longer existing buildings from all across the country and also abroad. So what we see here is like former buildings, both from ex-Yugoslavia, but from France, from the US. You find detailed descriptions of all the buildings in these folders on this shelf. And I think it's a fantastic idea of like a new approach to history, because what we see here that looks like a model for something that will be built in the future, but actually it's a manifestation of things that do not exist anymore. The Museum of Revolution, I mean, you are familiar with that history, is here also presented as a kind of billboard for something that is still there and waits to be, in a way, like to be realized, to be actually built.
Muzej revolucije, ili Museum of Revolution, je bio prikazan prije toga u jednoj većoj varijanti kao pravi billboard na zgradi Belvedera, zapravo muzeja 21. stoljeća u Beču, kao Arnolfini, Bristol, drugim lokacijama međunarodno. Taj rad, može se reći, je možda neka okvirna metafora, kao neka Uber slika, možda ovo cjelokupnog mog rada zadnjih 15 godina, jer sam ja, kad su Branka Anđelković, Branko Mitrijević preuzeli muzej, to je bilo čim 2001. godine, ovdje izlagao u salonu sa mojom izložbom Modernity New, tada sa maketama, remake maketama partizanskih spomenika i tako dalje. Znači, je tu bilo dosta mojih radova zadnjih 15 godina koji se baš bavili sa modernizmom, sa arhitekturom, sa izgubljenim utopijama, i s time se može vidjeti kao neki naslov tom procesu, toj dijelu moje umjetničke prakse. A iz tih razloga se isto osjećam vrlo fino sada u ovoj izložbi koja je fantastična po mom mišljenju, a koja isto ima veliki broj lokalnih umjetnika mlađe generacije koji mi do sad nisu bili poznati, a koji opet na svoj način isto obrađivaju tu temu prošlosti, sjećanja, modernizma, arhitekture, znači ne samo prostor u fizičnom smislu, nego i metaforičnom, prostor sjećanja, prostor ideja, misla, utopija i tako dalje. Znači da mi je baš drago da je ovo ovako dobar oktobarski salon i isto mi se dopada da se uklapam tu u jednu priču međunarodnih kao i lokalnih umjetnika koji u svoj različitosti pristupa svoje prakse ipak imaju tu neku tanku vezu, neki konac koji to veže sa tom temom sjećanja, nestajanja slika. Jer da bi nešto nestalo, mora prije i postojati. Koliko god od ta reč revolucija inflacionarno upotrebljavana zadnjih par godina u reklami, Nike ili koje god marke, znači u istini ispražnjena, ne znači ništa. U isto vreme, iako je to tako, ta riječ, taj pojam iza mene ipak nešto dodirne i odmah stvara neke slike, to sad nestale ili još negdje skrivene slike u našoj vlastitoj ličnoj arhivi. Ima neki specifika, naravno, ovdje, što se tiče sadržavanja ili ne, a ima nekih generalnih tu točka, na primjer, ovaj drugi rad ovdje u izložbi koji se zove Central komite, gdje se radi o centralnom komitetu koji je sad pretvoren u biznis gradu, a ja tada 2002. kad to snimam, od te priče koje su tu već bile, to privatizirati u smislu jedne TV, fake TV, novosti, kako se kaže, dizajna, to prepričavam i to se ostvarilo. A ideju za taj rad nisam imao u Beogradu, nego kad sam bio u Njujorku, jer se tamo u isto vreme jedna zgrada Marcel Brojera, malo sjeverno od Njujorka, velika office kompleks zgrada za koju tamo više nije bilo potrebe, pa su mislili šta će s time, da će to srušiti ovo ono, i na kraju se nađe jedna, ne znam smisla praviti reklamu, velika švedska firma za namještaj, koja u svom brandingu ima plavo i žuto. Oni to kupe pod uvjetima da sadržu jedan dio zgrade, a onda dodadu svoju ogromnu plavo-žutu kocku. Znači, u isto vreme ima ovo što kolegica pored mene pokazuje, što ja tematiziram nekim mojim radom, znači nestajanje i rušenje tih spomenika arhitekture 60-ih, 70-ih, ne samo ovdje, nego tako i u takozvanom bivšem zapadu ili kom god smjeru. A ima u isto vreme i problematične, kako se reka, ili rekonstrukcije ili nove upotrebe. Znači, ima interesantnih i problematičnih slučaja u obe forme, nestajanju i, kako se to mogu reći, promjeni značenja te zgrade kroz novu upotrebu.
This film is just at the end, but it will start again very soon. This is a work by Megi Rustamova, one of the international artists we invited for this exhibition. It's a film that is based entirely of black and white photographs, and the artist who's standing over there has created a narrative, like a voice-over. It's like a female voice telling a story that combines the photographs, and after a while we are not sure at all whether it's a fiction, if it's like a real autobiographical story, in a way like what do we do with these images, and the camera zooms into the black and white photos, so sometimes they become completely pixelated, and this is like an open projection also for our own idea, like how we reconstruct history, memory from pictures, in this case really like old-fashioned analog black and white photographs.
As the father was often away from home, she and her brothers and sister would gather around their mother and read books and comics. They did this often at their porch, while the sun was giving away its last breath of warmth and light that day. Sometimes, when the father would come home sooner than expected, they would instantly leave the books and their mother behind and run up to him, and each of them would fight for his attention.
My video is constructed out of photographs, which I, in a way, reworked with yellow post-its. So they are black and white photographs. The title is L'Invitation au Voyage, or Invitation to the Voyage, which is the title of a poem by Charles Baudelaire. And in a sense, it's also an invitation to a voyage which I proposed to the spectator, because in the beginning there's a man discovering a box of photographs. That's the narrative, the storyline of a woman leaving him these photographs, and he's trying to decipher what she wanted to tell him, what is her secret, what is the picture. And of course he realizes that there are a lot of interpretations possible, but he decides to have his own interpretation, and so he's trying to read the images in all the layers and try to find out what the characters mean, who they are. For example, we have a lot of children or men, women, but we don't know, is the child suddenly the grown-up woman? Is she the mother? Is she the wife? Is the man the father, the lover, the husband, the kid? So all the characters can be one. And what was for me really important is that as a spectator you decide for yourself that there's enough space also in the film that you can really make your own story. Because the story is quite simple. It's about people living, loving, going away. As the human beings, we're constantly in this shifting of what was, what is, what will come, and we cannot have a future without the past. I remember a conversation 2 years ago with Nikolausa asking me, is it possible to have a future without the past? And no, we can't, because we're constantly thinking, reflecting. So this is it will never be boring. It's like eating bread and drinking water every day. It's just the basis of our existence, is this reflecting all the time about where we are and where we find ourselves as human beings, because that's what
Over there we have a work by Andrea Palasti, who assembled the only remaining display of the already mentioned Museum of Revolution. And she presents it in the way it's now. It's pedestals overpainted. You can see some of the photos from this historical display of the museum. And here we have this very big, almost life-size photographs that Leon Kahane, a Berlin-based artist, took in Warsaw at the Frontex office. I don't know if you're familiar with Frontex, but it's this kind of semi-military department that watches the borders of the European Union, Schengen. And whenever there's too many migrants, for instance, trying to trespass the border in Greece, then Frontex gets a call emergency, you need to do something. And so here you have the other side of Europe, how it is today, and it has nothing much in common with the idea of revolution.
It's a series of photographs that I took in the offices of the European agency Frontex. Frontex is the agency that actually organizes all the border control in the European Union. I work a lot about migration, and I'm very interested in the subject of migration. And I thought it would be actually a pretty good perspective to see more this administrative apparatus, we could say. These photographs are from 2008 and 2009, and they were part of a group project. The idea of Frontex is that they make risk analysis and check all the migration, the movements of migration towards the European Union, and then they organize border police from all European member states and collect them at the specific place at the border. For, let's say, for example, the Mediterranean Sea. Lampedusa is a constant, let's say, risk for the European Union. And then they, start operations where they try to stop the illegal migration. You could say that the idea of this work is exactly to show these empty rooms, these empty offices, as actually the operational headquarters from where actually something is being organized, strategically organized, like a military move. It's always about the militarization, also about of the European borders, and then you have all this real catastrophes that you see every day in the newspaper. Just this week, 250 refugees died again, on one boat. So you have this every day, and then this whole subject becomes extremely politicized in the European Union, because the idea of the European Union and the idea why Frontex was actually founded in 2005 is that you have to have super tight and strong border of the European Union to kind of soften the borders inside the European Union between, let's say, Italy and Austria. The subject of the refugees is constantly used for like European Union politics. European Union agency is so like a very strong tool for political movements in the European Union. They just focus on migration. They say they just make risk analysis. They just analyze and organize and come with a strategy. I think this might change, and there are already like ideas to change it, that they will get their own units. But until now, it's not. And what they also do is, we have a new system in the European Union. It's called Eurosur, and this is actually like a data bank of like every European citizen and every like a collective database that is like centrally organized by Frontex and not by each and every European member state, which they didn't have, with what made them like extremely slow, because they had to, you know, like with Europol or something, they always had to take like very long distances to get information, you know, and like this now they're like super quick, and this is the idea. So I think they will expand also in their responsibilities. The second work is a video which I just took a couple of months ago, actually on the 19th of January in 2014. This is also the title of the work. And it's a video without sound. It's very important that it has no sound, because this is actually the only artistic move that I made myself besides filming it. It's a demonstration of migrant workers, of domestic workers in Hong Kong. And Hong Kong has 320,000 domestic workers, and they are basically from the Philippines. They almost have no rights. Like they actually like build 10% of the whole, like almost of the whole population of Hong Kong, but they don't count at all in society. You know, like they can just work, they cannot leave their homes just on Sundays, and actually no one is really like giving a fuck about them, to say it frankly. And in this video, you see that like it's a demonstration, and they are being moved from one side of the street to another one by on an escalator. So actually, what you see is like you see the entire demonstration from the first to the last person, but it's just one shot, and you just see the people like moving through the image constantly, and they're taking photographs of me or other people. They're like yelling or something and waving flags and filming and having signs and whatever, or like, you know, or being photographed also by journalists that are also like on this escalator, but the sound is off, like to say that actually like these people actually have no voice. It's like a very simple move, but it's pretty, I would say, pretty successful in the. So yeah, and I mean this is also something that can be connected to Disappearing Thing, obviously, because when you see on a Sunday, when they have their day off, they completely inhabit the whole city center and the whole banking district of Hong Kong, because this banking district is obviously on Sunday it's empty, because the people who work there have also their free day, and usually these women work in their homes, in the homes of like wealthy people or like people with money who have no time because of their like extremely stressy work, daily work, and. So when you see them, these women, you know, they're like everywhere, but it's like almost as if they don't exist. It's like a parallel world, even if if like the whole city is crowded with this extreme amount of people. And of course, there are always cases of abusing them, like physically or economically and whatever. It's like a constant thing, because they cannot in any way tackle it by law, because it's just very complicated for them. So this is the second.
Just a quick look here at the lounge, bar, cafe, restaurant, screening room area. When you look at the furniture that was designed by Roger Bunshu, the architect we collaborated with, he was inspired by a visit to the Ethnographic Museum here in Belgrade, because there you have all these like low stools that were used in like 19th century by like families to sit in front of like the warm oven, and we like the idea that it's a kind of like situation where you gather and talk. So we adapted the very principled shape of this furniture and put them into like a modern version. We just passed a series of photos of buildings you must be familiar with, but both Nikolaus and me come from Germany and live in Austria, and of course, like all the people coming to Serbia, we were fascinated by this relics or like monuments from the Tito era. So we commissioned more or less a photographer, a Spanish photographer, David Puigdado, who lives in Belgrade for some years, and he did a kind of like documentation of these buildings, and I think it's a very nice combination here with Dusan Djordjevic photos, which were taken last year. I'm still surprised that it's like so recent that he took these photos of the, I think now it's called the Palace of Serbia, but of course it used to be a very different kind of building, and what we liked in a way, while looking at this modernist style building and the different saloons, of course, you still get an idea of how Yugoslavia used to function. You have the Macedonian Salon, you have the Salon of Bosnia-Herzegovina, etc. And of course, like they look like a time capsule, and that's indeed also the title of this work. And a time capsule, of course, has a lot to do with like visual memory. It's like a box that you open after 10 years, and then you're totally surprised that it still looks like the day you put something into the box. And sometimes I think our recollection functions in a very same way.